Today, we are going to dive into one of the most powerful and maybe one of the most mysterious forces in our lives, our conscience. You know, that little inner guide that nudges you, that warns you, the thing that really shapes your entire sense of right and wrong. But where does it actually come from? That's the huge question we're going to try to unpack.
So let's just get right into it. We all have it, don't we? That little voice that just seems to pipe up whenever you're about to make a decision, whether it's big or small. It's the voice that makes you feel amazing after you do the right thing, or it gives you that horrible pit in your stomach when you know you've done something wrong. So what is that, really?
All right, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to make sure we're all on the same page about what we're even talking about. So let's kick things off with a clear definition.
Okay, so here's the key thing. It's not just some vague feeling, it's a type of consciousness. It's like having your own internal judge that's constantly evaluating not just your actions, but your intentions and even who you are as a person. It's this really deep-seated feeling of obligation to do what you believe is right.
Now, for centuries, people have debated this. Is that inner voice a natural thing, or is it supernatural? Let's start with the scientific perspective, which basically views our conscience as the brain's own built-in moral compass.
So if you look at this from a scientific angle, the conscience isn't some mystery from beyond the veil. It's a feature of our biology. It's seen as a product of evolution, something that helped our ancestors cooperate and survive. It's physically shaped by the wiring in our brains, and then it's fine-tuned by our environment, our upbringing, our culture, all of our life experiences.
And what's absolutely fascinating is just how early this seems to show up. I mean, get this. Some research shows that infants as young as 6 months old already seem to prefer helpful behavior over harmful behavior. That suggests that at least some basic moral leanings are literally hardwired into us from day one.
And neuroscience has actually pinpointed a kind of headquarters for the conscience in the brain. It's the prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain right behind your forehead. It is super involved in making ethical judgments and, crucially, in controlling our impulses. And we know that damage to this specific area can seriously mess with a person's moral compass.
In fact, conditions like psychopathy, which are linked to funky brain function, they really show us what a life without a conscience looks like. That total lack of empathy, the inability to feel guilt. These are the classic signs of a conscience that just isn't working right. And it really strengthens the idea that it's all tied directly to our neurology.
But, of course, that is only one side of the story. Let's shift gears now. Let's move away from the brain and talk about the soul. Because for a lot of spiritual traditions, conscience isn't a neurological process at all. It's a whisper from somewhere else. This is such a powerful phrase. You see it in different religious texts, and it perfectly captures the spiritual viewpoint. It suggests that our moral code isn't something we learn from scratch, but something that's implanted within us. It's an innate part of our being, like a law literally inscribed on our hearts by some divine hand.
So, from this perspective, that feeling of guilt you get, that's not just your brain chemistry going haywire. It's a form of divine course correction, trying to guide you back to the right path. This view would argue that the fact that so many moral principles, like justice and compassion, are pretty much universal, well, that points to a single divine source. It gives the conscience the sacred authority, placing it way above our own little subjective opinions.
Okay, so we've got two very different explanations on the table. One is grounded in biology, the other in spirituality. But here's the thought. What if they're not mutually exclusive? What if science and the soul are just telling two parts of the exact same story?
This is where we find a kind of middle ground. It's the idea that our neurological hardware, the prefrontal cortex, our empathy circuits, doesn't create the conscience, but maybe it acts as the receiver for it. You can think of it like a radio. The radio is a physical object, right? But it picks up an invisible signal from the air. In this analogy, the brain is the radio, and the conscience is the broadcast.
The philosopher Voltaire put it perfectly. He really captured the incredible practical importance of this inner voice, no matter where you think it comes from. He saw conscience as the ultimate guide to living a good life. For him, your inner integrity was way more important than any external rule or law.
And that really brings us to the bottom line, the most important question of all. Whatever its source, why does listening to our conscience matter so much?
Well, because the consequences of ignoring it are just huge. When we act against that inner voice, it's not just about risking getting caught. We risk this kind of internal rot, a turmoil that just eats away at our sense of who we are. And when a lot of people do it, it leads to real social decay.
But on the flip side, when you learn to live in harmony with your conscience, that's the path to something truly profound. It's where you find inner peace, freedom from that nagging regret, and the courage to actually stand for what you believe in. It's about aligning yourself with the very best part of your own nature.
So, what is that little voice in your head? Is it just a clever neurological adaptation, a survival tool hardwired into your brain? Or is it a sacred, eternal whisper guiding you towards some kind of higher truth? The evidence gives us good reasons to believe both, but in the end, maybe the answer is less important than the simple act of listening. What do you think?